just a fraction of the pain of those parents in Uvalde. We do want you to know that the parents asked for this forum. We didn't, as the media, camp out and wait for them to come out and start bombarding them with questions. They wanted to be able to speak, to let their feelings be known after they got this report this morning, just like all the rest of us did. Many of them, as you heard there, have been poring over it for the past couple of hours and say that they want to get back to reading it once that news conference was over there. The 600-page or so report coming from the Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of Justice this morning, laying out what they call a cascade of failures in the response to the Uvalde shooting at Robb Elementary, May 24th of 2022, that left 19 elementary school students dead and 2 elementary teachers dead. We're going to wrap up with just a few takeaways here, and then we will continue our digital coverage. Rebecca, what do you close out with here? What struck you the most?
Well, I think that these families continuing to demand criminal charges, and that the DA is moving very slowly on this and has had plenty of time to digest all of the evidence. I mean, we've had 2 major reports now come out, and the mom who said, "Our children are named in this report because they are dead. Everyone should be named in this report." Of course, Merrick Garland, Attorney General, saying that they don't name the lower level officers in these types of reports, only the commanders that should have been in charge but weren't in charge really. But they wanted names. They wanted accountability for every officer who stood there and did nothing. Now, I want to preface this by saying that there are a lot of courageous officers every day that put their lives on the line, that protect the public. The majority of officers in this country are heroes, and they do save lives. In this case, these officers did not act like the majority of officers do every day.
And the Attorney General's office went to pains today to say the same thing in that news conference. Jason, it sounds like we're seeing that spotlight get more and more focused on that district attorney there in Uvalde. Even the Attorney General, the U.S. Attorney General, saying today, we don't have jurisdiction here. This is an after-incident report to show all the things that went wrong, but we can't bring charges. That's up to the DA, who still hasn't moved on this.
And the DA is Christina Mitchell there in Uvalde County. She has not moved on this. It's been almost 2 years now. Come May, it will be 2 years, and we have not seen whether she is going to prosecute anyone. So far, no one has been held accountable, and that's one of the issues that frustrates and angers so many of the folks in Uvalde, understandably so. The bottom line takeaway for this today, this Department of Justice report, is this is an analysis. It is not accountability. And we heard from one of the women you heard just a moment ago. She said, no leader there on scene that day in May of 2022 actually questioned the school police chief, Pete Arredondo, and leadership can arise, she pointed out, from any rank or any title. 400 police officers on scene there that day. No one took command and control. One of the things he pointed out, there was not an incident command established. And that's what happens at any big situation. There's always one place where the leader goes to. Rebecca can expand on this. And that did not happen there. That's why things were going in different directions. The woman also pointing out too, she said that she wants terminations, she wants criminal prosecutions, and she wants sensible gun laws. It is worth noting the Texas legislature refused to even consider raising the age limit to purchase a rifle from 18 to 22. The Republicans in charge shot that down. Several Republicans who supported that in committee are now being challenged simply because they supported that, Jason.
All right, we still have a lot to get into with this. We're left with the quote from that one mother saying, "I hope the failures end today." We're going to get into a lot more coverage digitally at WFAA.com if you want to stay with us there. For now, though, we're going to wrap up things here on the air and return you back to ABC programming. Again, our coverage continues, though, right now, WFAA.com. All right, welcome back, thanks for staying with us. We have now come off of broadcast, and we're going to continue our coverage of the extraordinary events in Uvalde this morning, Uvalde, Texas, where we've gotten this enormous report from the Department of Justice on all of the failures that happened there. senior political reporter Jason Whiteley stepping away.
I'm going to swap out because we have an expert over here who's fantastic.
So
that can
we're
provide
trading
a lot
one
more
expert for
insight.
another here.
Here we go.
We still have senior crime and justice reporter Rebecca Lopez here, and now we are bringing in a brain trust to kind of help us run through this. Craig Miller, former DISD chief and deputy chief at Dallas Police, and who now consults with schools about active shooters. Unfortunately, that is a job title. That is a role, a very vital one these days. And we just heard from the Attorney General there, the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, saying, you know, they laid out this enormous report on all of the failures that happened in the response to the active shooter in Uvalde, because they're looking ahead. They know that another one's going to happen, and they're trying to lay out best practices. And sometimes the way you get to best practices is to look at worst practices, and we saw so many failures.
You know,
in
and
Uvalde.
it's easy to point to the Uvalde ISD, the 6 officers that made up that department. But there were, like they said, FBI agents that went out there, Border Patrol agents, that are highly trained. You had Texas Rangers, DPS out there. You had a majority, you had people coming in from all different jurisdictions. I don't remember how many, I forget now, how many police departments and federal agencies were out there, and not a one of them did anything